for me, there's so many opportunities. And I hope investors see that. They get so caught up in like, oh, but I could have made 100x on this. Yeah, but there's always another opportunity. I've never been in a position where I took a trade or missed a trade and then been like, oh, that was the last trade of my life. There's no other opportunities. Like there'll be the next Bitcoin out there. There'll be the next Ethereum. There'll be always something new. And to me, it's a risk reward assessment, meaning that, once something runs 100%, I'm not chasing it. I'm not going to be one of those people that's left holding the bag when the rug gets pulled. Instead, I'll look and find the next thing that hasn't run yet.
In this video, Gareth will delve into his insights on potential triggers for Bitcoin's decline to $10,000 or even $30,000. He'll explore why there's consistently another investment opportunity waiting, and offer guidance on avoiding being caught off guard when the market shifts. Are you prepared for the volatility inherent in Bitcoin investment at its present valuation? Join Gareth in this interview as he discusses these topics and more. Before we continue with the rest of the video, do check out daily 5-minute crypto newsletter with all the latest crypto and Bitcoin news. It's a fantastic analysis of on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is it's absolutely free. They'll cover expert predictions, breakdowns of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news you need to know, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description and enter your email to join over 50,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now.
That's classic Michael Saylor, right? Did we really expect anything different to come out of his mouth? Now, having said that, I do agree that, if you ask me where this is in 30 years from now, yeah, I do absolutely agree that this could rival the market cap of gold. So I think you have that narrative. But again, it's a matter of what are investors expecting? Like if someone's buying today at 72,000 to 73,000, are they ready for the volatility that comes with that, which is corrections of 20 to 30 to 40 to 50%? And I think that's the kicker, is that when he says it, I think there's a lot of retail investors that think, oh man, I'll buy this now and in 5 years I'll be so rich. And they're not looking at the risks involved, the drawdowns. And so again, for me, absolutely, I think it's a fair statement. If you're looking at the next 20 to 30 years, he probably would tell you it's a lot shorter time frame. But for me, again, it's a matter of, are you going to tell investors that this is going here and what's your time frame on it? I don't know if he gave a time frame on that, but I think that's an important factor.
Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy, imparted profound insights into his company's ambitious strategy concerning its Bitcoin investments. Saylor elaborated on his endgame plan and provided a detailed glimpse into the company's long-term vision. Despite a brief drop to $669,000, Bitcoin's price continues to ascend, recently reaching a new all-time high of $73,300. The cryptocurrency quickly rebounded, setting new records and illustrating the market's bullish trend.
Yeah, so chart-wise, you're right. We've had this incredible run where we really kick-started it after the initial pullback on the spot ETF approval. We had that 20% correction, which, to be honest, was kind of a classic correction. It was a sell the news event. There was so much bullishness coming into the approval, and then you kind of got to sell the news portion there. But really what we've seen is that risk on continued in the overall asset markets, right? So we saw NVIDIA just going nuts. We've seen semiconductors as a whole going nuts. And there's this animal spirits that everyone is chasing that next big gain. And again, while Bitcoin could go up a little bit higher, and again, I have a couple targets, but you mentioned the 75,000 level. I think it's worth just showing a few other possibilities. There's something called a measured move, where if we take the low of the last cycle to the recent high of the 2021 cycle, that's a almost $66,000 move. The concept here is that you ultimately replicate that move here, and that would actually take us up to about, I think it's right around that $80,000 target. So again, you replicate what we would call a measured move here. So again, I think as long as it's a risk-on environment, you're likely going to see potentially further upside in Bitcoin. My only fear is this, right, is that if we see the S&P start to crumble, we've seen some reversal candles, we've seen some engulfing candles on the S&P, on the semiconductors, on specifically NVIDIA, can the buyers stay with the Bitcoin trade and the altcoin trade? And one of the things I'll just mention here too is that it's very concerning, and I was just talking with Ben Cowan about this on our No Shill Zone earlier, is that the scams are alive and prevalent and so crazy that to me is a warning sign. It's a be careful sign that the kind of the people are not investing because it's a good investment, but because it's an easy 100x on the next meme coin, and that's a warning sign we saw in 2021. We saw the same thing in November of 2021, is these ridiculous price targets for 1 month out. For me, there's no way you're getting to, even by year end, you're not going to $200,000 to $250,000. Is it possible 100,000 if we see risk on? The answer is yeah. 100,000 is a potential target by year end if that risk on environment stays. But just a couple notes here, we're seeing the Federal Reserve clamping down on some of their lending policies. So the banking, the kind of the banking lending program, it was an emergency lending program that they started back when Silicon Valley Bank failed. They have just ended that as of today. And that was a way for the banks to borrow cheap money and then ultimately use it as an arbitrage opportunity. So I do worry that some of this liquidity in the system is starting to dry up. We know our government, of course, doesn't think that's the way it should be as we continue to run up $1 trillion every 100 days in the national debt. But I do think, again, it's all a liquidity bubble at this point. And as long as that continues, then Bitcoin could easily hit 100K by end of year.
President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador has hinted that the country's Bitcoin holdings might surpass current estimates. Since adopting Bitcoin as legal tender in September 2021, El Salvador is not only benefiting from its Bitcoin reserves but also earning from various Bitcoin-related sources. Bitcoin recently reached an unprecedented market value peak of $73,740, marking a 1.8% increase, and notable gains of 10.7% over the week and 23.3% over the last 2 weeks. This surge has elevated its market capitalization to an impressive $1.43 trillion.
So once we got to 20, so my initial call was 69,000 to 20. We achieved that. And then one of the things we talked about in our interviews is that the way we get to 10K is if the stock market collapses, right? If we see a 50% drop in the stock market, that's what will trigger Bitcoin to have that additional sell-off to 10 or 9,000. That obviously didn't happen, right? And so I still think that Bitcoin is vulnerable to a massive liquidity issue where you start to see the leverage in the system become too big, the stock market begins to decline, you see deleveraging occur, and Bitcoin could easily go back to 30 to 32. But as a trader, again, you have to be able to move with the trends, right, and with the charts. And so at this stage, unless we saw a depression, I don't see Bitcoin going back to those levels of 10K. But I do still think that once we see the markets pull back substantially, 20, 30, 40% on the equity markets, we still should see a retrace to that 30 to 32,000 level. So in general, I think you're seeing a buy the news, buy the rumor on the halving, just like the ETF. It's such a hyped up event. You're going to see obviously the ability to mine get much harder for a lot of these miners. So I do think that it's in general a longer term bullish scenario, but if we run up into that halving, I would look for the same sort of sell-off that we saw right after the spot ETF was approved, where we pulled back about 20%.
In February, the cryptocurrency world witnessed a concerning surge in scams, with scammers deceiving approximately 57,000 users and absconding with nearly $47 million, according to scam tracker data. Employing phishing tactics, they coerce users into surrendering their digital assets. Meanwhile, some affluent residents of London are purportedly utilizing cryptocurrency for luxury home rentals. High interest rates and a subdued real estate market have dissuaded the city's affluent denizens from purchasing properties outright. The willingness of real estate agencies to accept cryptocurrency payments underscores their openness and desire to establish themselves as leaders in the real estate sector. For more daily dose crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.